The United States can't take care of daycare. We're fighting wars, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. We have to take care of one thing, military protection.
Exacerbated through Trump's tariffs, exacerbated even more through Trump's war in Iran. Everything commercially is about 20% worse and about 40% more expensive.
Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
It's outrageous and it hurts in the pocket.
The grocery prices really are obviously higher.
The Iran war just proved something dangerous. You can't bully the world with money anymore.
You might not be in a war, but your wallet definitely is. Ever noticed how gas prices suddenly jump, groceries get more expensive, and everything just feels harder to afford? A lot of that traces back to one thing: war. Wars don't just affect soldiers or countries involved, they shake the entire global economy. From fuel and food to shipping and daily essentials, the impact spreads across the world. So how exactly does a conflict happening miles away end up affecting your everyday life? Let's break it down. The first and biggest impact: oil. Oil is the backbone of modern life. It powers cars, trucks, planes, and when war happens, especially in oil-rich regions, supply becomes uncertain. Countries produce less, or exports get disrupted. And when supply goes down, prices go up. That's why during major conflicts, gas prices can spike almost instantly. And once fuel gets expensive, everything else follows. Think about how products move: food, clothes, electronics. Almost everything travels long distances. Now imagine, shipping routes become unsafe, ports get blocked, fuel costs increase, suddenly moving goods become slower and much more expensive. And guess who pays for that? You do, at the store. Wars can directly affect food supply too. Some countries are major exporters of wheat, corn, and other essentials. When conflict hits, production drops or exports stop. Less supply plus global demand equals higher prices. That's why even basic items like bread, milk, or cooking oil can suddenly cost more, even if the war isn't happening in your country. Now combine everything: higher fuel costs, expensive transportation, rising food prices. This creates inflation, where the overall cost of living goes up. And once prices rise across multiple sectors, they rarely go back down quickly. So the effects of war don't just hit during the conflict, they can last for years. The world is more connected than ever. So when one region faces conflict, it creates a ripple effect everywhere. Markets react, supply chains break, investors panic, and all of that adds pressure to prices around the world.
So U.S. gas prices yesterday rose by 30 cents in one day, in the single biggest increase in 2026 since the Strait of Hormuz was closed. And gas prices now are topping off at about $4.39 a gallon for the national average. But we have no need to fear, because the president has told us that once the Strait of Hormuz is open and all of this is resolved, U.S. gas prices will drop like a rock.
And as soon as that war is over, which will be soon, your prices are going to drop like a rock. You watch.
Except that's not exactly how gas prices work at all. Like that is just ignoring the reality of gasoline prices and how they are set. Because even if the Strait of Hormuz were open today, we would not expect gas prices to fall today, next week, even next month. There's a saying in economics that gas prices tend to rise like a rocket and fall by a feather.
Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war? You're saying that your operation is preventing a nuclear Iran. Will you acknowledge that there is an economic cost to the American people for doing what you believe is necessary to make Iran denuclear? You don't even know what the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence.
Exacerbated through Trump's tariffs, exacerbated even more through Trump's war in Iran. Everything commercially is about 20% worse and about 40% more expensive. Example, that hamburger that you loved at your local restaurant, it was always 20 bucks. These are New York City prices. It was always 20 bucks. Now it's 24 bucks and it's mediocre. The lettuce is soggy, the tomato tastes like plastic. Hotels, there's always something wrong with a hotel now. The shower doesn't work, the door is broken, the remote control, the phone. 20% worse, 40 to 50 to 60% more expensive.
I read the news so that you don't have to. You do realize that America's most powerful weapon just got exposed as kind of useless. No, not nukes, not the military. I'm talking about the US dollar. And the Iran war just proved something dangerous. You can't bully the world with money anymore. As you can see, the headline says, Iran war has exposed the weakness of the dollar. So what does that mean? Well, in case you weren't aware, for decades, the US dollar has basically been the operating system of the global economy. If you want to trade oil, move money internationally, access global markets, you need dollars. And more importantly, you need access to systems like SWIFT. So what did the US do? They weaponize that. If you step out of line, they sanction you. They cut you off from the dollar system. Game over, right? Not anymore. The Iran war has shown that sanctions are not stopping wars. Iran is one of the most sanctioned countries on earth, and yet they're still selling oil, they're still funding conflict, and they are even charging ships millions to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So clearly this financial chokehold isn't joking.
So one of the things people need to understand is that the war with Iran is not just hitting oil and gas prices, it is hitting the global food system. And that means ordinary people everywhere are going to either pay more or go hungry. Corn, wheat, and rice provide more than half of the world's dietary calories, and all three depend heavily on fertilizer. Nitrogen fertilizer alone makes up 59% of total global fertilizer use, and 45% of that nitrogen is used on staple grains like wheat, rice, and maize. Now, why does this matter when it comes to Iran and the Strait of Hormuz? Well, roughly 1/3 of internationally traded fertilizer traverses through the strait, and between 40 to 50% of global seaborne urea goes through the strait as well. The market is already feeling the pain of the closure. Urea prices in the US have approached $700 per metric ton, which is up more than 30% from the start of the war. Some fertilizers in the United States rose more than 40% in 1 month. U.S. fertilizer supply in mid-March was only about 75% of normal. And that is a problem because if farmers cut nitrogen use by just 10 to 15% or delay it by 2 to 4 weeks, corn yields fall by 10 to 25%.
Why gas is so expensive and what we can do about it. In the last election, the American people voted to end these forever wars and make life more affordable. 2 months ago, the people in power started a new war in Iran, a war that nobody asked for, raising gas prices here at home. Here's what we can do. Every time you fill up your tank, you're paying a hidden tax. It's called the federal gas tax. I'm proposing that we suspend it. That will immediately drop the price of gas by 18 cents a gallon. I'm also calling to suspend the federal diesel tax. Everything you buy was shipped by diesel. Your groceries, your clothes, your medicine. Cheaper diesel means cheaper everything. Suspend the gas tax, suspend the diesel tax, and end this war in Iran so we can make life more affordable.
So what does this actually mean for you? Higher gas bills, more expensive groceries, increased rent and daily costs. Even if your salary stays the same, your expenses go up, and that's why life starts to feel more expensive. So next time prices suddenly rise, it's not always just inflation or bad luck. Sometimes it's the result of events happening far beyond your control. Because in today's world, a war in one place can affect wallets everywhere. You might not see it directly, but global events shape your daily life more than you think. If this opened your eyes, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay informed. Because understanding this stuff is more important than ever.